My name is Ryan Coburn. I'm going to be discussing Chapter 12. Question 2. Your friend tells you a person can tell if someone is gay even without asking them. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? If you agree, what clues you into a person's sexual orientation? Um, I think maybe you can. I think there's definitely situations where you can tell that someone is gay. But I think what people base that off of is kind of the media stereotype of gay men, which is that they're very flamboyant and theatrical and dramatic. Um, and sometimes that's true. Sometimes gay men are like that. And sometimes they're just like normal straight men. Maybe normal isn't the right word. Sometimes they're just like the typical straight men. Um, and so if you ask, even if you don't mean to, if you ask someone that they're gay and they don't believe, if they haven't said anything about it, or they haven't, or they don't believe they've done anything to indicate it, they might take that question as you seeing them as more feminine or more flamboyant or theatrical or whatever. And so that could cause offense, especially if you're wrong. For example, I have a straight friend who's very effeminate. um, I mean, not terribly so, but he is much more effeminate than most men. And I think I said already, he's straight, and he's aware of that, and he's very self-conscious about it. And I was once hanging out with another one of my friends, who's also straight, and neither of my friends are homophobic, or they're very nice guys. But the other one, who wasn't effeminate, he just doesn't know when to stop talking. And so I think what happened is a thought popped into his head, and then he said it out loud. And he asked my other friend, "Are you gay?" And for my other friend, that was really stressful and like traumatizing for him, because that's something that he's aware about and he's very self-conscious about. And even though I don't think it's something he should have to worry about, like, to him that was a very offensive question, because it pointed out those attributes in him. And I think it could cause the same level of offense to, I don't have any experience with this, but I think it could cause the same level of offense to someone who's straight if you ask them that question. Um, or someone who's gay if you ask them that question. I think another result is that if that person is in the closet, they're not ready to talk about them being gay or address that issue. You're also going to be met with a negative response. And I know the question in the book didn't ask if about asking someone if they're gay, but that's what I have to talk about today. So if they're not ready to talk about it, they're going to be defensive, and that's also going to be stressful for them, especially if their family or their neighborhood or their beliefs are not accepting of that. So again, just the sentiment is be careful. It's probably best to let them tell you. For me, I personally wouldn't care. I I mean, I'm not the most masculine person. I'm okay, but I'm fine with who I am. If someone asks me, I tell them yeah. Um, and I don't think too much about it. I do wonder what made them ask that, but I'm okay with whatever. One of the things the book talks about was children who in their pre-gay phase. I thought that was kind of a funny way to put it, but I think it's talking about before adolescence, when they're discovering their sexuality. Um, they they tend to display, they don't follow typical gender norms. So an example is boys might play with more dolls, or they might be more interested in, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to throw out any offensive stereotypes, so I'm not going to talk about it more, until I'm properly researched. Um, but they don't follow those norms. For me, I I wasn't. I think I wasn't a butch kid, which sounds kind of funny to say about children. I didn't like the sports, or I didn't watch sports, or is that what? normal people do. I don't know. I wasn't typical though. I was very much an introvert and I loved video games and cartoons and make believe play. So there wasn't a lot to indicate manliness, but I hate that. It's hard because I don't want to use words that are offensive, but masculinity. Masculinity was probably more appropriate. Um, but there wasn't anything to indicate the opposite either. I was kind of in a weird place that didn't display any gender stereotype. Um, what was I going to say though? But if I think if you do notice those things in your child, it's appropriate to address sexuality. Like we talked about a few chapters ago, like when you're talking to kids about sex, you address questions, you answer their questions simply and appropriately for their age. But if you're noticing those traits in your child, I don't think you want to identify them as gay, but you might want to talk to them about different sexualities, um, and let them know that whatever is okay, that those things are normal, that they wouldn't be weird or atypical because they were gay. And just making them aware of those things. So when puberty comes around, it isn't so confusing and so they're not so anxious about it. I think that would cause a lot of stress, even if you were accepting as a parent and never addressed it. Like how would they know? So that is my 2 cents on that. Um, I hope I talked about that sensitively because I wouldn't want to push masculinity or femininity on gay or lesbian women. And I know I didn't discuss women as much, but that gay men is kind of my field, so that's what I thought I'd talk about. Um, yeah, that's it.